I have been dying to cover this one. This is the earlier Witches' Sabbath by Francisco Goya. This one was completed between 1797 and 1798. This Witches' Sabbath painting is not just a scene of worship. It's the study of power, ignorance, and social manipulation. This one was done more than 20 years before the black paintings. This tells us a lot about where Goya's mind was before he got sick and was secluded and deaf. Let's get into it. So here we see the goat or devil standing upright, and that crown is important. The wreath of leaves on his horns there is supposed to mimic a halo, a sacred crown on the perversion of the divine symbolism. He isn't lunging, he isn't monstrous, he's just presiding. The raised arms are supposed to mirror the gesture of a blessing. Now look at the women. They don't look powerful. They look impoverished. Their faces are anxious, even vacant. They form a circular composition around him, a visual symbol of ritual repetition, also known as closed systems of belief. They lean forward, and their faces are desperate. This isn't sensual witchcraft, it's psychological submission. One offers a child, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. Whether literal or symbolic, the act suggests blind devotion, sacrificing the innocent to irrational belief, and also generational damage. Superstition isn't just personal ignorance, it's inherited ignorance. This offering would suggest how the belief system would shape children before they had a sense of agency. It's disturbing, and it's meant to be. Now, the three veiled women in the background are kind of ghost-like, like echoes or witnesses. They could symbolize traditional generational belief or the lingering presence of dogma. Their faded rendering makes them feel like ideology itself, less human and more atmospheric. The seated woman in white. She's seated towards the goat, but she's also glancing slightly sideways, and her shoulders are exposed and vulnerable. She reads as conflicted, not as ecstatic as the others to be there. She's like a transitional figure of the person that questions but doesn't leave. The older woman beside her, her face is deeply worn and lined. She may represent suspicion hardened by time, ignorance without enlightenment, but she looks directly outward more than the others, almost confrontational. This is devotion that erases selfhood. Now the woman in yellow here, with the yellow skirt, she's in a position of complete submission. She represents complete psychological collapse into belief. The small, thin child reaching forward, this child looks skeletal, fragile. They may represent the cost of belief or spiritual starvation, or the way children imitate what they see. The reaching gesture almost mirrors the adult behavior of sacrifice. I'm going to try to keep my head out of the way for this one. The skeletal being on the ground that some people usually miss because it's pretty much the same color as the ground, but let me explain. If you notice, what I assume to be a child or adult is already outside of the active ritual circle, and they seem to be spent. It may symbolize the outcome of superstition, spiritual death, social death, or the literal death through neglect and poverty. And if you look around, notice not one of them is reacting to it. They're focused on the goat and the ritual, everything else but that. And that indifference is where the real horror is. Now, the openness of the background, the sky, the mountains, it's crucial that this space still exists, meaning that rationality still exists beyond this circle, like the darkness hasn't swallowed the world yet. Unlike his other Witches' Sabbath here, there is already a video of this one if you want this one explained too. The circle of figures is self-contained, suggesting that belief systems create their own closed reality, and every figure would reflect a different relationship to this. Blind devotion, fear, also generational inheritance, doubt, and total submission. More so, the devil in this doesn't have to actually do anything. This is a self-sustained circle. That's the quiet horror of this earlier version. In the black paintings version of the witch's Sabbath, here, the great goat figure becomes distorted and monstrous, as if belief has already rotted them from within. But they're still recognizably human, which may or may not be unsettling to some. Goya's painting of marginalized people can be read as a critique of how superstition thrives in environments of fear, poverty, and lack of education. So the true danger may not be the devil, but the system that keeps people believing in him. And just like history repeating itself, this was during a time when Spain was struggling with the belief of enlightenment, reason versus superstition, and science versus religious fanaticism. The Inquisition still existed, and the accusations of witchcraft and their consequences were still very real. And these witches feel less like sorceresses than they do the immediate victims of ignorance. The devil is pretty much secondary. The real subject here is human gullibility.